Hi there, I'm Haruka, and I finally got myself some soju, so that's what we're drinking today. It's just weak vodka. That Super Bowl was disappointing. Amazing writing for 95% of the game, and then we hit the 2-minute warning and everything grinds to a halt. At least in the MLS Cup, we got a game that constantly got more and more stupid as it went on. Philly lost in a much more fun way that time. The thing that I want to talk about is that MLS Cup, because that is why we're here today. This is my regular MLS preview, the only thing I'm technically qualified to talk about until I officially get my degree in screenwriting in May. 30 seconds or less on each team, that's how we do it here, and I'll be going from east to west because that's how we do it here. I like doing that. It's fun. Nobody does it the way I do it because I'm cool like that. The Eastern Conference, New England Revolution. The Revs were so horribly average last season, mostly because they lost a main source of goals in Adam Buxa sometime in June when he was sold to Lens. Their season was held together by a losing streak at the start and near the end of the season. Georgi Petrovic proved to be an immediate replacement for Matt Turner, while he only provided a single goal during his 9 appearances late last season. They're hoping that Juventus product Giacomo Veroni can be that DP replacement for Buxa. Combine that with other acquisitions like Bobby Wood, Latif Blessing, and the return of Josie Altidore, they have firepower. New York City FC. While it's not like they're completely different, the core of the team that won MLS Cup in 2021 has been dismantled. Tati Castellanos is gone, Maxi Morales is gone, and Captain Sean Johnson has moved on. Other longtime players like Haber and Anton Tinnerholm have also dipped. They got Pellegrini in the Miami fire sale, but there's not really that much to look at in their attack. Taking away all the goal contributions from those who left, they'd go from the top third in scoring to sitting down near DC in the fire. While not an exact science, that's still a lot of goals they need to make up for. New York Red Bulls. The MetroStars are one of those teams that I can never get a good handle of. They dumped Klamala, who was a waste of time, replaced him with DP Dante Van Zier, Gremio product Elias Manuel, and MLS vet Corey Burke. But they also lost Aaron Long and don't really have a replacement, and they refuse to give up on Drew Yearwood, although he's no longer a DP, so that's nice. I'll go out on a limb and say that they're not going to be bad this season. If Van Zier is a hit, he can combine with the other 2 DPs in Lewis Morgan and Luquinhas to pump in some more goals and maybe finish higher than last season. It's more on whether the defense is good enough to handle loss of Long. Club Foot de Montreal. Y'all, Montreal fans have been through it this offseason. They hired and fired a coach within around 24 hours because it turns out he cheered on the attempted assassination of a Quebecois politician a decade ago. Now they can't release their new kit because of an issue with the team wanting to use the First Nations language on the kit. Not to mention they've lost 3 of their top players in Georgia Mihailovic, Alistair Johnston, and Ismail Kone, as well as Wilfried Nancy, their coach. But that's the biggest blow because Nancy ran a team that was fun. They may not have been the best team, but they were out and scoring every game. 9 games with 3 or more goals, 5 with 4 goals. Most of that was led by Georgie and Johnston. The forecast is rough, but at least they fixed the butthole logo. The Philadelphia Union. This team just keeps getting robbed. They made it all the way to the finish line, and then Gareth Bale decided to wake up for the first time since August. They were both the top scoring team and the best defensive team, and a feat of domination that should be pretty near impossible in a salary cap league. They had at least 6 goals on teams 4 separate times. They dropped a total of 13 goals on DC United alone, and they only allowed more than 1 goal on just 5 occasions. This team was lethal, and they just keep reloading. They lost Paxton Aronson, Matt Freese, Sergio Santos, but they've added Andres Pereira, Joaquin Torres, and now have Julian Carranza on a permanent deal. Not to mention their Unreal Academy. They're going to be just fine. DC United. DC United was doing everything they could last season to be the worst team, and the draft isn't even worth tanking for. The top signing of the offseason ended up as the leading goal scorer, but he also turned out to be racist, and he's still there. Their other leading goal scorer, Ola Kamara, is still out of contract. They had the worst defense in the league, the worst offense in the league, and the goal differential of minus 35. But Rooney's got another season in charge, and he's made a couple of interesting signings. They got fullbacks Ruan and Jahazi, and shored up their midfield with Polish international Mateusz Klich, and strengthened the attack with more veteran presence from Pedro Santos and Crystal Palace legend Christian Benteke. They're going to be a lot better than last season, but how much is unclear because they're just that bad last season. Inter Miami. Bro, I don't know what's going on here. They made the playoffs, they still have Phil Neville, and none of it makes sense. And after getting past their sanctions for ignoring roster rules, they're back to signing literally everybody, just not Messi. But seriously, they've dropped Pozuelo, Pellegrini, Carranza, and Higuain have picked up Martinez, Leonardo Campagna, and a couple other strikers. Combine that with Pizarro returning from loan, and they have an attack. The problem is that they don't really have defense. Sergei Kristov is a nice pickup, but what else you got? Like, who's your goalkeeper even? Orlando City. After barely making the playoffs last season, I think they're in another sit-and-wait season. With Pato gone, they no longer have that usual focal point of a player with greater experience than their teammates. They got some more young projects on the attack like usual, but I'm not sure if Pereira is going to be that leader that the team always seems to need. I will say it'll be interesting to see how Martin Ojeda and Facundo Torres link up, and who will be in between them between Erkan Kara or new signing Ramiro Enrique. At least you won the Open Cup. Charlotte FC. So through all the projections, Toronto was actually pretty okay last season, barely missing out on the playoffs, but they also made their fans pay full NFL prices for everything, so that's good. They weren't that busy in the offseasons, but they did pick up attacker Nuno Santos, who was a name I was surprised I knew. Their key players remain the should-be-in Chicago combo of Karol Swiderski, Kamil Jóźwiak, and Brant Bronico. I'd still be worried about the goalkeeping because Christian Kalina was among one of the worst performing goalkeepers in the league, and post-shot XG differential is complicated, but minus 3.6 on his own is pretty bad. 10th worst in the league out of 63 goalkeepers. Toronto FC. After a rough retooling period, Bob Bradley has a juggernaut team with the mid-season acquisition of Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi, combining with guys like Jesus Jimenez, Ayo Akindola, Jonathan Osorio, and DeAndre Kurt. They're already there. It's just going to be a lot of goals, and they just have a horrible defense, just a bad defense. No amount of offense is going to help them, but they did get Matt Hedges, Sigurd Rosted, and the man who's most familiar playing behind the worst defenses in MLS, Sean Johnson. I kind of always figured that Milkman would go to Toronto eventually. Maxima Bob at the helm, explosive attack, mostly cleaned up backline is going to be pretty good. Columbus Crew. I'll be honest, I shouldn't say this as a Fire fan, but Columbus should have made the playoffs last season. One of the better defenses in the league, combined with Lucas Zerleran and the later addition of Cucho Hernandez, is a recipe for a team that belongs in the playoffs. Their problem was picking up 16 draws. They looked like Yallop numbers out there. This offseason, they let go of defensive standby Jonathan Mensah and winger Derek Etienne, and I think that's going to make them a bit weaker. However, they're adding Minnesota legend Christian Ramirez to the attack, and they got one of the best all-offense, no-defense coaches in Wilfried Nancy. I mean, they should be making the playoffs, right? Atlanta United. With Josef Martinez's exit, I think the entire identity of the Five Stripes is missing now. Their big thing was taking massive swings at South American players, but that were really successful, but then they just stopped. And they barely finished above the fire this season, which shouldn't be that hard to do. Josef, Ronaldo Cisneros, and Dom Dwyer accounted for nearly half of all Atlanta goals last season, and now they're gone. They brought in Greek scoring god Georgios Giacomakis from Celtic and the previously mentioned Derek Etienne, but it's yet to be seen if Gonzalo Pineda will even keep his job. Not to mention the actual nightmare with goalkeeping. Clement Diop. Why do you have Clement Diop? He's one of the worst goalkeepers in MLS. FC Cincinnati. You know what? Can we get some pogs in the chat for Cincy this season? They have a new high-tech stadium. Brenner is finally paying off. They stumbled on a legit MVP candidate in Brandon Vasquez, and they made the playoffs for the first time. They even dumped known piece of shit Geoff Cameron, and things are really coming up Millhouse. If their attack can maintain their form from last season, the added help of Yerson Mosquera and the whole season of Matt Miazga in the back should give them a genuine chance at a real run in the playoffs. Nashville SC. I really think I can just say Hani Mukhtar and move on, and I'll tell you everything. That man is dominant. He's all you need to know about this team. They made some additions, some subtractions, and I don't think they'll have much of an overall effect on the team. There's a couple of pieces that should have gotten better at, but Mukhtar. The big thing is that they made the playoffs in the West last season. Now they're back in the East. And honestly, I don't know which conference is easier at this point. Probably the West right now, but it is a major change in schedule. The Chicago Fire. All right, it's fire time. House rules say we get to take our time with this one. Though honestly, I don't think they really need it. It took forever for the team to score a goal. It took forever for Ezra Hendrickson to realize that Duran was better than Shabilko, and it's taking them forever to sign that third DP. And now that Duran's gone, we've seen them swing and miss on multiple supposedly big-name DPs that were less than impressive to begin with, and we're stuck again with our only striker being Casper. I hope that means they look towards the homegrowns in the attack, because at this point, that's their best hope. Masal Rodriguez and Victor Bezerra were names to watch last season, but then Ezra literally never let them play. Also, speaking of homegrowns, Gaga's gone, but Chris Brady might actually be better, and the defense looks a bit more solid too, which is saying something after that impressive start to the season before injuries came for Wyatt and, Tehran and all of this other stuff. But you cannot win games if you cannot score. Who the hell is going to score goals? This guy? This guy? You could put Frank Klopas out on the pitch right now and he'd be the team's leading goal scorer at age 56. Now for the Western Conference. St. Louis City. Welcome to the league, boys. The Arches might have one of the sneakiest good defenses in the league. Goalkeeper Roman Berkey from Dortmund is a good start. The backline is built out of Jake Nerwinski, Tim Parker, Joaquim Nilsson, and Josh Yar. That's not bad. Good things have been said about Thomas Ostrak and Edward Lewin. And then in the attack, they've got Joao Klaus Stowe to be their main striker, supported by Rasmus Alm, Nicholas Gioacchini, and Indiana Veslev. I don't really know what to expect out of the attack, but that defense looks nice. Minnesota United. You really got to feel for the Loons. They had their chances for a couple of seasons, and now it looks like the wheels are falling off a bit. They've reloaded the offense with Miguel Tapias, Doniel Henry, and Alan Benitez, and Mender Garcia could be something, but the big story is Emmanuel Reynoso, who's been having some adventures for the past year or so. He was arrested in Argentina last offseason for pistol whipping someone, and now this offseason he did not report to preseason, is suspended by the league. Even if guys like Luis Amarilla and Robin Lode have a big part in that offense, he is the Loons offense, and without him, it is an uphill battle for Minnesota. Dakota. Sporting Kansas City. The Sporks are just a whole yikes of a team. They used to be one of the most consistent teams in the league, and now they're most consistently inconsistent. The past season especially falling apart for most of the season until pulling up in August with huge wins against the Gals, Portland, and the Loons. The big reason for the late turnaround was the arrival of striker Willie Agata. The weird thing is that they haven't done anything else in the offseason, which means that they're going to be running out with most of the team that was pushed around by half the league most of the season. Also, their key players are a whole lot older these days, and it's showing. Tim Melia, Graham Zusi, and Roger Bessanoza are all 36 now. Johnny Russell is 32. They have younger players that could take over for them, but I'm not seeing them get minutes. There's going to be some struggling this season. The Houston Dynamo. I talk a lot about how irrelevant the Fire are, but Houston are that to another level. I mean, they've made some nice moves, like Hector Herrera makes a lot of people happy. Adalberto Carrasquilla is an interesting pickup, seems perfect for them. I mean, Ibasi could be helpful. The big story is that they brought in Ben Olsen. Is this good news? Is it bad news? I have absolutely no clue, but it'll be interesting to see him miss the playoffs with another team for once. FC Dallas. FC Dallas just sort of do things. They quietly made the playoffs fairly often, but never really do anything there. They also have one of the most prolific academies in the league, but they never benefit from it, unlike Philadelphia. Paxton Pomykal is finally playing after hearing about him for years. He's nothing, basically. They're also the proud owners of two of the most confusing MLS players. Sebastian Lecca and Paul Arriola are so fascinating. They're basically the FC Dallas of players, because like they have so much hype, but you don't notice when they're playing. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs or something. Who cares? They're not worth it. Boring. Next! Austin FC. All right, Austin, laminate this bitch. Sebastian Driussi came out of nowhere last season to lead a team that wasn't really projecting for anything into the Western Conference Final. They didn't really belong there either, and the bigger story is how their fans were assholes for no reason. Like, dude, you're still in the expansion team. It's an average season the year before. Calm down about believing in you. Driussi made them one of the most top-scoring outfits, but I'd be worried about him slowing down now that the rest of the league has film on him. But you also got to clean out some of that defense if you want to actually play with the big boys. But they're coached by Josh Wolf, so I can't actually hate them. Colorado Rapids. Guys, please believe me, I want the Raps to be good so bad, and they're just not doing the thing. Their major offseason signing was this dude from the Wolves Academy, Connor Ronan. I don't know how that's going to help them score the goals they've lost with Giarzi Zaraz and Mark Anthony Kay. They've also lost Aaron Trusty, Kellen Acosta, Shinya Shiki. I don't even see replacements. Kevin Cabral might be something, but I just don't see improvement in this team enough to make the playoffs. Real Salt Lake. RSL is the stupidest team in the entire league, and I just love them so much. They made the playoffs again. Like, how? They lost Bobby Wood, but he wasn't that important. They picked up what I think is a club record signing in Carlos Andres Gomez. This is the least expensive team in the league, but they know how to get results. And I put that on Pablo Mastroeni. It's a mentality thing, and mentality comes from the coach. LA Galaxy. Galaxy fans are actively protesting the club and may even be boycotting. They want the team to pay more attention when spending in the transfer market. Looking at their pickups this offseason, it's not a bad shout. They got Douglas Costa and Ricky Puig mid-season, but nothing this offseason. Chicharito is fine. They made the playoffs, but I guess Galaxy fans expect more. But technically they should. They just watched Chivas USA go from non-existent to MLS champions in a very short period of time. This season can be rough, both on and off the pitch. Los Angeles FC. Speaking of Chivas, here they are, the champions. You know, Gareth Bale said he was staying for a while. I guess time is relative. But they did lose a couple of important players other than him. Brian Rodriguez, Diego Rossi, Christian Narango are all gone for about 5 million euros each, because I was using Cramped for market. I don't think they've replaced all of them, but that's a lot of goals. They had a pretty good defense, but it fell apart in August when the scoring slowed down. Unless Steve Buick is the men's version of Sam Kerr, I'm not sure if they'll stay up there. Or maybe they get Aubameyang, who knows. The Seattle Sounders. What Seattle normally does is they suck in the beginning of the season, make a solid signing midseason, then explode into the playoffs. They did not do that. They won the CONCACAF Champions League, but they did not do what they always do. This is a horribly average club right now, and I'm not seeing anything changing from last season, good or bad, because there's almost no change in terms of major areas. They got Heber, which is nice, I guess. Vancouver Whitecaps. Vancouver is the Canadian RSL, except with less playoff success. They won the Canadian Championship somehow. They've got a bit more movement and transfers than a lot of the others at this end of the video, but it's mostly guys going out. Cavallini, the top scorer last season, is gone. As of recording, it's not yet confirmed whether or not they'll be getting Sergio Cordova, but that would be helpful. They mostly need help in defense, as they were one of the worst teams in the West on that side of the pitch. They signed Matthias Laborda and Karifa Yao, so that should help, though they should be in the market for goalkeeper. That's where the metrics are really bad. Portland Timbers. I'll just put this simply. Evander is a massive signing. This guy should be going to a better club in the Champions League, but he's in Portland. Portland is known for most of their major players being South American guys, but they usually don't splash cash on a major South American guy. The problem we might see is because he's not a goal scorer or playmaker, he's just an 8. So it'll be interesting how he's using the tactics. Outside of him, I don't know. Merritt Paulson shouldn't be an owner in any soccer league anymore. Look at what is happening. Portland Thorns and like the whole Andy Polo situation. Why is he still an owner? San Jose Earthquakes. Near the beginning of the season, honestly, throughout a lot of it, San Jose played what I could refer to as a chaos ball. Basically, you don't know who's going to be scoring, but there's going to be a lot of goals. Then they got dumped by Matias Almeida, but they did get former Dallas man Luchi Gonzalez. And the thing about Gonzalez is that he knows how to build young talent. Quakes have a lot of that. They may not be the youngest team in terms of overall roster, but they have have some of the youngest starters in the team with additions like Jonathan Mensah, Carlos Carrizo, and Rodriguez to be fixing that defense. If I'm a Quakes fan, I would be tentatively excited for the next season. They got rid of Calvo though, so like that's a point against on the fun level, but it's actually good for them playing well. Now for random predictions, MVP, Lorenzo Insigne. I think he's going to be a massive part of that massive Toronto attack. A full season is going to go a long way towards making him look even better. Coach of the year, Luchi Gonzalez. I already explained that he's sort of set up in a way where he can really raise the level of the team that he's working with, you know, the Quakes. For MLS Cup, I have Toronto beating the Quakes. Half reasonable, half a hot take, but I think that the Quakes can sneak into the playoffs and get all the way there, but Toronto is just too much. And that's it. The Chicago Fire disappoint me and they should sign a damn striker, but whatever. I saw some comments on my video last year about wanting another anime MLS crossover, and I'll give you a hard maybe. I'll at least see you for the spring anime season, so that part's a promise. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe for a chance to be entered into a contest to win Pablo Mastroeni's mustache. We cryogenically froze it when he shaved it off last time around, as like Walt Disney's head is hidden somewhere in Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Yes, in Colorado, not in Salt Lake. Thank you.
I never meant to brag.